So I've talked about mania and hypomania multiple times on this channel, but I've only very briefly talked about depression, which is so weird because depression is a huge part of the mood side of my disorder. And if you are new here, my name is Kit and I have something called schizoaffective disorder, which is a condition where someone experiences symptoms of schizophrenia, such as delusions and hallucinations, but also symptoms of a mood disorder, either major depression or bipolar. So in an effort to talk more about depression, here are 5 signs that depression is coming for me. And I want to make a note here that my mood episodes almost always sneak up on me because they are so gradual, which is why it's so important that I know the signs. So the first sign has everything to do with sleeping patterns. Much like I can use my sleeping patterns to predict when I'm manic or hypomanic, I can also use it to predict depression. For me, mania is a lack of sleep, while depression is an excess of sleep. I track my sleep every night with an app on my phone, and it tells me how much rest I get every night. If I see a series of nights where I'm getting more than 9 or 10 hours and I'm still feeling tired during the day, well, that's a tip-off that I might be headed into a depressive episode. It's the kind of exhaustion that's present even after I have that excess of sleep, and it doesn't go away no matter how much coffee I drink. It's just this bone-deep tiredness, exhaustion thing. Anyways, sleep is very important, and if I can keep to a regular schedule, well, sometimes that's enough to bring me back to euthymia. The second sign, and this is one of the worst ones, and it's that everything becomes difficult. The easiest way I can say this is the very classic "it's hard to get out of bed in the morning when I'm depressed" thing. And that is true. It's very hard to get out of bed in the morning when you're depressed, but everything else after that is also hard. It's hard for me to take care of myself. Brushing my teeth is effort, showering is effort, making myself breakfast for work is effort. And as a result, not only does my self-care go down, but my apartment goes to shambles and gets really messy because cleaning it seems insurmountable. And I've been depressed on and off for well over a decade at this point, and my limits, I know them. But fortunately, with the way my depression works these days, thanks to medication, I can still go to work when I'm depressed, I can still do social events when I'm depressed, and for the most part, I can take care of myself when I'm depressed. But even being able to do all those things does not change the fact that my brain still finds them so unbelievably difficult. And if that difficulty gets too much for me to bear, I talk to my therapist and I talk to my psychiatrist and we do something about it. So yeah, go figure, things are difficult when you're depressed. The third thing is a lack of pleasure from things that used to make me happy. Those things that made me joyful just don't make me joyful as much. And I don't have like a full-on loss of pleasure entirely, it's just more like it's blunted for me. And so I still have things that make me a little bit happy, things that make me maybe 10% happy, and most of the time those are older YouTube channels that bring me vast waves of comfort and nostalgia. And that's not the only thing that's blunted. I also feel a lack of creativity and a drive to make things. So it's a lot of me sitting on my bed under my heated blanket with my iPad in my lap watching videos until the depression lifts. That's the thing about having the bipolar type of schizoaffective disorder, is that the mood disorder side resembles bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder is cyclic, meaning that the depression I feel, it will always lift because the pendulum has to swing the other way. So part of what gets me through these states is that I know it will lift. I know it will end. I just have to hang on and be patient. And I can be very, very, very patient when I need to be. The fourth thing is I start pulling away from everyone around me. So when I'm experiencing the early days of a depressive episode, this is the first thing I do. So basically this combined with more sleep is major tip-off that I'm about to be depressed. Part of this is because of number 2, where everything is difficult, because reaching out to people is effort, and that's really hard. So pulling away, less effort, that's what I do. And I do still go to social events when I'm depressed. I said that earlier in this video, but those events, sometimes I pull away even there because, again, it's easier just to get inside myself. And the big problem with isolation is that for me, it can end with me spiraling mentally and I can get in some really bad places. Like, I have been known to drop off the grid during my depressive episodes and then return a month later like nothing had happened. And this is something I always work on in therapy when it happens because it's so important that I don't isolate. And it is a struggle to stay connected with people, but that connection can mean the difference between a manageable and an unmanageable day. The fifth and final thing I'll talk about is when it comes to me being depressed, An early warning sign is that the nature of my psychosis changes. I hear voices as part of my disorder, and when I'm depressed, there's more negative content coming from them. So instead of hearing my normal set of good voices, which are kind, supportive, and caring, I get these mean ones that show up. And they only show up when I'm depressed. So when they show up, I know depression is coming. And that's why it's in this list. But they'll tell me how worthless I am, how useless I am, how I don't deserve the life I'm living, and how everything is gonna eventually be taken away from me. I'm gonna end up in a mental hospital for the rest of my life. And I know rationally that all of those things are lies. They lie to me. I know they lie to me. But when I go through my life and all I hear are those lies, day in, day out, it kind of wears on me a little bit, because it's not the kind of thing where I can just say, no, shut up, because they don't listen to me. They'll just keep talking, so I just don't interact with them at all and just let it happen because it's easier. But it still sucks. And so if I'm not listening to music or listening to a podcast, then they're ripping into me over everything I'm doing. So yeah, negative content in psychosis is hallmark sign that depression is coming. And as much as it's horrible, it's still a great warning sign. But hey, it gives me time to prepare for the rest of it. So I guess there is a silver lining at the end of this. And those are 5 things that tell me that I'm headed into depression. But keep in mind, depressive states are different for everyone. How depression presents itself to me might be very different from how it presents to someone else, or even you. So if you experience depression, what are your warning signs? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you want to keep the conversation going, I am on Instagram and Twitter at SchizoKitzo, and I love talking to you guys about mental health. And so, as always, thank you for joining me in making the uncomfortable comfortable, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.